All right, y'all, it's Friday, so you know what time it is. Spoiler time. Let me go ahead and put the spoiler badge up here. Just about everything in this video is going to be a spoiler. So if you don't like to be spoiled, put this video on mute and just watch along. Okay? If you do like to be spoiled, let's get into the tea. Okay? Sky Squad, we are officially back in the building. All right, so let's get into this sneak peek of the coming episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Drew is shocked when Ralph completely ignores her at her wellness retreat. Now, let me give you the stilo, the play-by-play real quick, and I'm going to show you just like a real quick snippet of the replay in the scene. Actually, I'll show you the replay in the scene first. So take a gander, and it says 2 minutes before. So this has already happened, and they're replaying it. So check this out again from the Bravo Shade Room. She goes to hug. You see she goes to hug Rossi first, and then he bypasses her to give, I think, Kenya a hug, somebody else a hug, right? And then he goes around the room and hugs all the other ladies. Finally, she's able to chase him down, and he's like, he says something to the effect of, because everybody notices it. Kenya notices it. She talks about it in her confessional. Sheree notices it. She talks about it in her confessional. Everybody kind of sees that he basically swerves her. Y'all remember that time, Kenya went to go hug Nene, and Nene gave her the Matrix. That's what Ralph is giving a little bit in this scene. He's giving a little bit of that Matrix action, not to be confused with deflamation. Y'all, I just could not help myself on that one. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So then he goes on to say she lets us know that there was, I guess, maybe a dinner in their previous scene, because she's throwing a wellness event, which is going to be the second thing that we're going to talk about. She is throwing a wellness event. Okay. She's got the wellness event going. And in this wellness event, all the ladies are there. I don't know if this has anything to do with Drop It with Drew Sidoris. But what I do know is all the ladies are in the building, okay? And so when Ralph finally does get there, apparently he gets there and he's late, okay? And so he gets there and basically ignores his wife. Now, people in the comments were saying, oh, she hugged another man first. So that's the reason why he basically, gave her the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, she was standing right there still, and he kind of bypassed her in order to hug somebody else. Now, whether that was like a little get back action on his behalf, y'all let me know. Or is he, again, as we stated earlier, is the man just checked out of the relationship at this point, and he's just ready for it to be over? Okay, Keisha Cole style. All right. So in case you guys were wondering what I was doing as I was looking off into the distance, I was looking at my phone to prepare some screenshots so that we could talk about the next thing. Now, while Drew is being ignored, we got to also talk about her talking about this lawsuit. Yet another spoiler, so beware, okay? Beware or be square, all right? And this is coming from my friends over at Reality Chat. Now, in this conversation, Drew is going to give an update on her lawsuit. And I believe Cynthia is the person who asks about the lawsuit, right? And so, Drew goes on to say, she's being sued by this lady, and Ralph is simultaneously giving the details from his perspective to the guys. And she talks about how there was like hair in the food. Then Ralph talks about how, then it became, they gave her an opportunity another opportunity after, I guess the food was allegedly bad. Let me put the alleged badge up here too, because who knows what the real is. I don't know what the situation is. All I know is what they're telling us. Ralph tells us then they offered her another opportunity to babysit the kids or to be the nanny. Now, if you found a let me say this. Let me bring a close up of myself as I'm talking about this. Number one, if you are in this type of position on these types of shows and you are letting people into your house and they're coming and going, I'm not sure why they're not signing NDAs or anything like that. Number one, or some type of contract. You know what I'm saying? To like, okay, let's see how this goes. The next thing, I mean, because if you got 85 assistants, I mean, why don't you have an attorney? That doesn't make any sense to me because when Drew said she went to the court, she was representing herself. So, girl, where is your attorney? Who is negotiating your Bravo contracts? I mean, I'm just curious because shouldn't that same attorney have been handling this matter for you in court and then maybe you wouldn't have been so stressed? I mean, you got an attorney obviously to run down to the courthouse to, get this divorce. So, where was the attorney when it was time for you to go into this lawsuit? Because my instincts tell me if you had an attorney dealing with this situation, it really wouldn't be as big as it is. But that's just my estimated guess or whatever like that. Um, Now let's get into what is as Kandi is pointing out is the inconsistencies in Drew's story. Because after Ralph says that they then hired her on to be the nanny, which to me doesn't make sense. Because if I hire you as a chef, let's just say for the sake of argument, I had you prepare a meal for me, and the meal, and let's say allegedly, if I found a hair in the meal, why would I then hire you for anything else? Because that tells me that you don't pay attention to the details. And if you're going to be looking after my kids, I definitely need you to be preparing, like giving attention to detail. Again, these are the allegations that they're claiming. I'm basing my assessment on their allegations. Why would I ever have someone who cannot, if you're cooking for me and I find your weave hair, as Drew says, in my food, why would I then think you would not have weave hair in my kids' food? Okay. At some point later in time, when it is time for you to take care of them as the nanny and I'm not there. To me, the hair in the food, if this is allegedly what happened, indicates to me that there's a lack of care being given to the preparation and the things that would need to actually go on in the household to make things run, because that is an, I don't want to say it's an oversight, but it does tell me a little bit of something about how you manage what it is that you say you do, if we are to believe Drew and Ralph's allegations about this situation. Then there's another inconsistency that is pointed out by, well, it's not really by Kandi, but it's an obvious, it's Drew has mentioned it before, but the documentation that the producers give us doesn't seem to indicate or jive with the story that Drew is giving, because Drew says that it started off being that the woman wanted $1,000, which in my mind, it seems to me I'm in slight agreement with the rest of the people. Pay this $1,000, okay? I mean, unless you don't have it like that because you don't want to pay for a lawyer. Because I feel like a lawyer would have made this thing disappear, but a good one would have. But anyway, but since you wanted to represent yourself, you're telling us that, and you have said it before, that she then wanted more money, right? And then in the scene, she tells us, oh, yes, at first it was $1,000 and then it was $10,000. However, when we look at exhibits A and B, as I'm about to show you guys, they do not jive with this $1,000 up to inflated to $10,000. So let's look at the documentation. I would like to present exhibit A to the court, okay? And exhibit A would be the documentation that is provided by our friends at the Real Housewives of the Atlanta, okay? Now, for those of you guys who cannot see, let me read it to you so that you can have an understanding of what it is that we're looking at here. Okay, but of course, because of, well, actually, this would be exhibit B. Okay, they've actually labeled it for us. All right. And these are Drew's lawsuit documents. Now, clearly, what I will acknowledge, and I'll get back on screen and do so, is that if this could possibly be not all of the paperwork. It could actually be only a small snippet of the paperwork, right? But I would think that if I were claiming that this woman was now asking for $10,000, Dwight, then the paperwork I would have submitted the paperwork that said, here is exhibit A where she said $1,000, and now here's where she's saying $10,000, unless the girl had an attorney and she wanted Drew to pay for the attorney's fees. But I don't see that listed here in exhibit B or the next exhibit that I'm about to place on the screen. So right here, as you guys can see, let me make it a little bit bigger, myself smaller. You can see that the documented amount here from the documents, according to the Real Housewives of Atlanta production, is $1,000. And so, as Kandi points out, there's an inconsistency here because, as you can also see on the second set of paperwork that we have here, it also still says $1,000. There's no differentiation in the amount. So the question then becomes, as Kandi points out, there's just there's inconsistencies. This goes back to, just Drew in general and her trouble with consistent storytelling. Y'all like the way I put that? It just feels inconsistent to me. And so she comes across as the episodes play out less and less credible. Does that mean that I dislike Drew? No. I want to make that abundantly clear. I think that she's an agent of chaos and confusion, and I feel like every show needs it. So, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of confusion, a little bit of delusion, and I feel like you got the perfect mix for a great housewife who could potentially stand the test of time, unless the stories just become so crazily inconsistent that now I just can't even rock with anything that you're saying. Okay. So anyway, this is Sherlock Homeboy reporting to you live from the scene. We are still on the case of whatever Drew is selling us this week. Listen, I'm buying it. I'm buying it. I'm buying whatever she's selling, however inconsistent it is. She is providing content, and here we go. Okay. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, court is now adjourned, and we want to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City real nice and quick. I would like to know, by a show of hands, chime down in the chatterization down below, if you will be watching season 4 of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City when it returns on September 5th at 9 p.m., of course, only on Bravo TV. Now, I'm taking these photos from the Housewives of SLC Instagram page. Please follow them if you are interested in the Housewives of Salt Lake City and the goings on. Obviously, here there is no Jen Shaw, but we do have one of the fan favorites who has returned, and that would be Miss Mary Cosby. Okay, Mary Cosby has returned to tell Heather Gay that she looks slightly inbred. Oh yes, she does. It happens in the trailer. I kid you not. Um, I never. The thing that I feel like most people like about Mary is you don't know what she's gonna say. You don't know what she's gonna do. You don't know what's gonna happen. It's all gonna be a toss up. And sometimes she's gonna say the wrong things, and sometimes she's gonna say the thing that might be on your mind. But love her or hate her, Mary is back to entertain the girls. Now, is the trailer enough? Obviously, I cannot show you the trailer, but is the trailer enough to make me want to watch? It's enough to make me want to tap in and see what's happening. This is the new cast member, Monica Garcia. Don't know much about her. I think she's going through a divorce on the show, and she's got a business that she's trying to get booming and whatnot. Of course, we got Lisa Barlow back, friend to the show. We got her back, not friend to that show, but friend to this show, as in this show right here. She has provided us with some of that very, very good Vita tequila. Oh, yes, she did. We got Mary back in the mix. We also have Angie K, who made her debut as a friend of the show last season. She has been upgraded a la Marlo to a full-time cast member. Actually, that happened to Sutton as well. Heather Gay, she's back for some more probably inconsistencies as well. We have Meredith Marks, who is back looking as glamorous as ever. And we have Whitney Rose, who also, to me, is an agent of chaos and confusion. So let me know if you're going to be watching this down in the chatterization down below. Is this something that you guys would be interested in me recapping? I want to know what your thoughts are, or need I not even waste my time? Okay. So let me know in the chatterization down below what your thoughts are. If you're excited about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season 4. Based on the trailer, I'm intrigued, but will I be watching the entire season? I don't know. Now, that's all we got for y'all today, and I will catch y'all in the next video.